Since it's Sunday, it's Free Talk with Mr. B. It's so nice to have everyone on to the follow-up for this podcast. At this time, we were getting some feedback about how rich we have to be to give back. And wow, what a week, what a time has passed. And there's so much to consider, so much to talk about, and we're looking forward because we have a guest today, and our guests. Oh, wait a minute! I can see you now, Samina. Tell me about our guests.
Yes, thank you for thanks to everyone for making it in this odd time. I know all of you are in various parts of the world, and each of us are literally at the fag end of the night or are just getting there, and some of us are just about to start the weekend. So thank you so much for being here. So yes, like Mr. B mentioned, we do have a guest today with us, and that is Mr. Praveen, who is a very good friend as well as a very rich man at heart, I must say. Why I refer to him as a rich man at heart, we will just know in some time. But for the benefit of just to refresh all our memories, I would also like to introduce all of our participants on this podcast today. We have our very own Mr. B. This is for the benefit of Praveen as well. Hi, Praveen. You're with us.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for
yes.
joining us. Let me introduce you to Mr. B. Mr. B is our founder and host himself of this show, which is Free Talk with Mr. B. He's a philanthropist, he is a coach, a mentor, a public speaker. That's how I have known him. So I wouldn't really a very respectful character. And here we have Ms. Dedra Stevenson. She is an award winning screenwriter and author and a public speaker and a creativity coach. Her mind is always on the go for any kind of creativity. And of course, we have with us Professor Mia, Mehreen Mia. She is a UN Goodwill Ambassador, a global social responsibility advocate, and she is also the founder of her own company, which is MEA, which stands for Motivate, Empower, and Advance. And she's also a life coach. So these are the rich people we have on this show. And how they are rich is rich at heart, rich in character, and rich in everything as a personality. And we are very glad to welcome one more person who we think is an equivalent on this show. So, Praveen, yes, we were talking about how rich does one need to be if we need to give back, giving back to the society, giving back to anyone in this world or to our own self. So, please introduce yourself and share your thoughts on this topic with us.
Yeah, first of all, let me start by saying thank you for inviting me. And deeply honored and privileged to be part of the Free Talk with Mr. B. It's such a nice panel, that I went through, and each one of you are distinguished in your specific fields. So I'm very happy to be part of this. To start off, I think I'm Praveen Kotanten, and I'm based out of Bangalore, India, and have 20 years of experience in IT and ITS industry with various portfolios and businesses. To talk about today's topic, and we'll jump into our topic where how rich are we to give back, and I feel that it is uh, love and care, the kindness that matters the most for me. When if we have love, then automatically everything else falls into picture. So when you love a person, then you automatically, irrespective of whatever the needs are, your approach to the person, be it the kindness, the compassion, the empathy, everything would automatically, because when you love a person, you go anywhere to, take an example of my son, and I would love my son and I would go to any extent to take care of him. And the world that we live in right now, I think uh, the love God has created us, and if if we love God, then we have to love His creation, because He's created the whole world, and if it is automatically that if you love Him, then you love the creation, and if you love our fellow beings, and the world would be a much better place. That's my view, Sam.
Yes, yes, Praveen. And we do know of some of the instances where you've helped a lot of people in the darkest moments of their lives. So if you could share how does it occur to you that you need to help someone or give something to someone, not in terms of monetary help, but then you've given support, you've given that motivation or encouragement. How does it occur to you? What exactly strikes to your mind that you do it?
So I think it's more of first listening to them, understanding what are each one's need and what are they going through at that point of time. Some may be going through financial trouble. Then you definitely need to help them with the financials, with to whatever possible that way that you have. So at some cases there is there is missing of hope, happiness. So you try to impart your past experience, and I'm sure that each one of us today where we are at, we have gone through so many ups and downs and we've come out of it, and we share some of the live examples and give them the hope to move forward. And that is the biggest thing. When we give hope, they automatically come up. As a quote, and we have that, don't give fishes to the person, but make them a fisherman. So when you make them a person, give them a hope, they would automatically come back. I always try, when I'm trying to listen to my friends or my colleagues or anybody, when I listen to a problem, I always want them to come out of themselves, rather than we tell them what to do, because we might have faced the similar problems and would have come out in a particular way. But each one has their own innate capacity and their best skill to come out of it. All we need to do is then guide them, and they will automatically come out of that problem. So my approach
Yes.
would be is to help themselves come out of it, which will make them a better and stronger person, and they would understand their roots and connecting their dots back. That is.
That's great. And I think you touched a very interesting topic, which is giving back hope. And that is one of the nuggets, one of the chapters in the book of Mr. B, which is the art of giving back. This entire podcast is about us taking each nugget, each element of that book, and one of them is giving back hope. I'm sure my other speakers also agree with this. I don't hear them, they're very silently and observingly listening to what you are saying. Thank you so much for sharing those thoughts. Let's hear from our other speakers. Mr. B, are you with us? I think his connectivity was a little bit disturbed, so I'm not too sure. Ms. Dedra, if you could just share a few words, have you been able to catch what Praveen was just telling us?
Right. Yes. Well, I do think, it just, like you said, it all goes back to giving hope as a means of giving back to the world. And it's something that every single person can do. And no matter what your station in life is. I don't know if you guys have ever seen these videos or not that go around now and then. There's this team, they go around and they sort of test people's ability to give, to
Yeah.
be generous. And they pose as homeless people in Los Angeles and places like that, where there's a lot, that sort of thing going around. And they found that people were just in general pretty mean, and not giving, and they were not helping out. And the guy sits down next to, a homeless guy who's just been given
Yeah.
a half-eaten box of pizza, by a passerby, which was also on their team. And he says, "Oh man, it's hard out there. I'm, pretty hungry. It's not easy to get even a meal out there." And the homeless guy reaches in his box of half-eaten pizza and hands him a slice,
Oh,
and that, even a guy who's got nothing and he just got a half box of pizza is willing to give a slice to somebody who sits down next to him and says that he's hungry.
mhm.
It's incredible. It's literally something anybody can do, no matter what your situation is, and that's the kind of giving that is truly inspiring.
Mhm.
It's not about material wealth as per se. In fact, I find, I mean, not all, but sometimes I do find that even when you hear from the ultra wealthy, you have to wonder if it's not a PR stunt sometimes, I mean, they're giving to, I mean, to the poor and everything. There's a big question mark sometimes over their motivations, for doing it. Is it publicity? Is it just to make them look good? I mean, but I mean, when a homeless guy opens up a half-eaten box of pizza and hands a guy a slice of it because he thinks he's hungry, there's no motivation for that except pure goodness. And then that's something actually all of us can do, really, if we think about it. I mean, there's no day that you don't have a little too much of what you need that you could actually share, something with somebody who needs it. You can go through your closets and find old outfits that you haven't worn in years that you've just been sort of selfishly hanging on to, thinking that you're going to lose weight and wear it again, that sort of thing. I mean, you can dig those out and go pop them into one of the donation boxes, where they gather up clothes for the needy. I mean, then that costs me nothing, to do that, really. They were just sitting there, in the closet. Literally cost me no money, to do that. But I mean, just the idea, I mean, anybody can do that. And then to think that maybe some ladies out there that, can't afford a new dress would be so happy to get that dress, I mean, it's a good feeling, I mean, actually, it's extremely simple when you think about it. It's not a complicated matter, when we look at our daily lives, how something very easy can be done anytime, every day, actually.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, Praveen, just to make you feel a little more easier and at ease with this team, I would like to speak about how Mr. B actually included all the three of us ladies, and also we are covered. If you see, we all wear our hijab, which is a practice in our religion, and it's this is also a very humble act of giving from Mr. B, that he has given the share of his podcast to us and respected us. Likewise, why I'm bringing up this point is for everyone to know how Mr. Praveen has actually helped my sister. Some of you already know a little bit about it in terms of how she's been going through a rough phase. But then Praveen was my sister's classmate, and he has gone forward and he's gone out of his way to actually help her get back to her career, maybe after 20 years of quitting her job, after 20 years of a gap. He's actually motivated my sister to get back, and I'm very, very thankful to Mr. Praveen for that. Likewise, he's done that to many, many people. It might not show on his face. He's a very simple looking person. Yeah, Praveen, are you hearing, listening to me?
No, I think it's very kind words, but it's our friendship, as classmates, I always look at that. It's our friends, and it's spreading, our happiness and love with our friends, that is more important. So it is I feel that it is, I never felt that it is, I did anything, because it was I wouldn't even say it's automatically. That's why I used the word initially when I said, when you love and care, automatically everything falls into place. Because I never any time felt that it is something which I've done over and beyond my thing, because it is I feel it is something which I have to take care. It's my friend, and she's in need, and I have to be there for her. That's my.
Thank you.
And since you touched point about the hijab, and you all, I'd like to say that one of the other important aspect about giving back to the society is change in, our thought process. My favorite role model is Abraham Lincoln, because it is not about what a person gives financially. What he's done for this society. It has changed the way people respect, and it's completely different,
True.
right?
Sometimes it's about the way you live your life, if the role model that you don't realize that you think you're just living your life every day, and it's, you're just doing normal things, but you don't realize that to somebody you might actually be a role model. Somebody is watching, how you conduct yourself every day, whether it be your children, your friends, maybe your friends' children,
Yes.
maybe the children that read your novels, I mean, there's all kinds of people that actually observe you,
Yes.
so if you're living your life, your best life, and living, and you're trying to put an honest, kind of effort out there to say good things, be responsible about what you talk about, what sort of opinions you put out there, you're actually doing a good thing, I think, even by doing that. So Abraham Lincoln is a good example. It's kind of nice that you brought that up. He's actually was my favorite president in the history of US presidents. So
Yeah,
that's
that's
cool.
one verse which I really like is by the people, for the people, and to the people is something which really inspired me a lot. And yeah, I think, see, being a role model, and as you very rightly pointed out, something which we need to pass on to our younger childrens and kids, that they look up to us, and whenever they look up to us and they see we need to bring a social cause, like when we look
Yeah,
at how we treat our fellow beings, and especially our women employees, especially
exactly.
in
Because someone is observing that.
Yes, right. And also there's a subtle change. In India, we used to earlier feel that, women are confined to, kitchens, but not anymore, because we see that they are equally in every field and they're doing much better. And as this transition is happening, as, all me taking responsibility, my son would look up to me and say there is a cultural change, shift in terms of how we look forward in the future. So that is one more thing, as you rightly
Yes.
pointed out, being a role model is very important.
Absolutely. At this, I would like to say that Professor Mia is a real role model for many, many people out there. And just like I mentioned earlier, she's a UN Goodwill Ambassador, and giving back to the society, giving back to her family. She has dedicated her life to giving. So, Professor Mia, what are your thoughts on our conversation?
Well, so far I have to say excellent, because every point is important. And I want to say thank you for bringing our brother Praveen on, because as from what he's saying, he's touched on three things. He's touched on the love aspect, the very key aspect of where the richness comes from. He's touched on the hope aspect, which is obviously extremely key for us to give back. But there's something that I sense from what he's saying, and that's not what he said out loud, but it's something I picked up from what he's just said now, especially. And that is that you give without an expectation. So, for example, if you listen to what he's just said, it's about giving, and it's about giving the hope. It's about giving with love. It's about giving with the care. It's about caring, but without having this expectation of receiving because you've just done it. You just do it wholeheartedly. And that is extremely rich in itself, is when you are able to give without that expectation of a return. That is the wealth in itself in what you are doing, because you're actually identifying with yourself. You're actually loving yourself first before you giving off the love. You're actually hopeful in that what you are doing for somebody in giving them hope becomes a catalyst effect for hope for others. That creates hope within you, because you're giving someone else hope, but it creates hope within you to keep going with what you are doing. And that sense of itself is the richness. That is the wealth in itself. So that for me is the art of actually giving back and knowing how rich you really are. If you are somebody who can give off the love, the hope, and the non-expectancy when you're giving to someone, that's just you being absolutely rich right there. So I love what you said. For everyone's contributions today is just excellent. And if I have to put it into what I do, it's extremely the same. It's exactly the same. When we're giving to people, I'm giving to strangers most of the time. It's people I don't know. It's people we work with that we don't know. But yet they become people that you do know simply because of that interaction. And the next time, for example, I go to a location and I see a child, the child doesn't remember me because of what I've given. The child remembers me because the smile I gave her or the time I gave her, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So in those small little acts of what you do is where your wealth of you comes in, and that's what you give forth.
Yes, absolutely. I think you rightly said that, anyone remembers us for the experience and that moment. Even if we are missing a person, it's not the individual itself. It's the moment we have spent with that person is what we would probably miss. And yes, I'd like to ask our guest, Mr. Praveen, that he mentioned about his son. And I'm sure as a parent, always constantly he is looking at, ensuring that his son's upbringing is a good one. And he's able to replicate whatever good characteristics are of his mom and dad. What are some aspects, Praveen, I think you catch in today's generation where the children are actually not even close to understanding, what it is to give. They're busy with the entire, thing of the life and the internet and the phones and busy. Busy is just a very small word, I would say. I would like to use a more extravagant word to describe their being in this world today. So, what is it that you feel that that you would do to ensure that the child actually sets apart time to really understand another human being and imbibe those good characters? How would you do it, Praveen?
Yeah, I think one of the most important thing is spending as a whole family, we spend some prayer time. We all ensure that we pray to God, and we don't miss on Sundays. At any point of time that we make sure that that is prayer time is very important, and we ensure our dinner and our foods, whenever we always eat together. And I don't believe in, I always believe that wherever there's happiness, when you give happiness, it will, when he receives love, then he will automatically give it. So I ensure that there's a lot of fun at home. I keep, more than being a dad, I ensure that I spend a lot of time, uh, making
With yeah,
with good time with him, taking him out. And also one of the point which I think Ditra spoke about, role model, right? Which I have also highlighted, which I kind of want to rephrase it, that what respect that we give to every human being, and that's what they actually catch it up, at a very younger age. So be it any human being, how we treat, they would follow us. So it is very, very important that when we are, because we are constantly being observed, and you know they look for inspirations from us, right? So being a, I always make sure that be myself, and ensure that he also takes part in all the donations or any whatever good work that we do. I make sure that he's part of it, be it financial or any caringness, anything that if you see anybody hurt in the road, make sure that at least some basic thing help is given. Or if someone going through some problem, then talk to him. I always discuss with him every problems which I face, and what the family goes through, so that he understands what we do and what is the expectations. And one more another important aspect is purpose of life. If he's able to identify a purpose for himself, and I think he would go and find his destiny. So as a father, I always push him towards finding the purpose for his life, and the moment he does it, and I'm sure that he would be in the right track.
Well, I just have to really say that I respect and salute that, Brother Praveen, because it's very hard to find, especially, I'm not sounding sexist when I say this, it's very hard to find men who are able to let their sons develop themselves for their own destiny. Very many men especially prefer that their sons follow in their footsteps somehow. So I really salute that you give him his own identity and space, yet try and inculcate values from you that he can take forward. Really, I respect that. Thank you for doing that for him. It's really a gift in itself that you're doing for him. Really, it's justice. Thank you so much. Wow.
So true. So many men might push their sons to be certain careers, a certain machismo,
Yeah.
to honor, their, you know, their own image. So it really is about them and not about the child, not about really what he wants. So that takes courage, and
Yeah.
the bonus is that he'll take those lessons into his own life and influence his kids, so there's a
Yes,
chain effect. That's the nice thing about putting out children that are truly good people into the world, that they create a chain reaction. So in that, it's a good deed as well. I think sometimes that's the best thing in the world we can do, is put out children that will do good things on earth.
Samina, I just want to ask Praveen just one very quick question.
Sure.
And it's just IT related, and Praveen, please don't take offense to it. It's just something that's come to mind quickly. You're in this IT field, right? And you've been doing it like she's just said for quite a while. How do you control your son's inaction with his technology, like his devices and IT stuff? I mean, how would you say, is there a time restriction with that? How do you actually do a routine thing if it's IT related? If that's your forte, obviously it's your job and whatever. But how would you actually say to your son no regarding IT and devices if that's not his stuff?
That's a very, in fact, today's addiction, that we all face is digitalization, maybe television, mobile, or any of these, because they are constantly, disturbed,
Yes.
right? So I think when we grow up, we never had a mobile and we never get distracted. To today's world, whenever there's a beep, we automatically look at the phone. And there was a new survey which Apple had made where I think we look at more than some 2,000 times, in an hour, how many times the beeps are.
2,000 times? No way. Oh my God, really?
I don't know the exact number, but the number of taps that we do, I was just going through that the number of taps that we do per day is
And then
very high.
let's face it, there's some pretty risque stuff out there on the internet. So Professor Mia, I'm so happy that I've had an influence on you. You're the one bringing up the controversial stuff now. I think I've passed the torch effectively. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Because it's so true. I wanted to say it, but I kept quiet. So I'm happy she brought it up. I mean, that this world is full of, dangerous, toxic influences, especially on the internet. So yeah, that is a valid question. How do we keep them away from that?
So I would answer that. Actually, what I have to do is, the purpose of life. I asked him, I think he's going through the word Ikigai. There's a very good book on purpose for life. It's a Japanese concept. It's a very good book. I would recommend all of you to read. So if he has a purpose, right now, he is so busy with so many activities. There is no way that I can stop him, him being a kid, to stop him not to use being digital. But what I can do is give him the purpose of life, or make him busy with a lot of other activities. Like, he goes for badminton, sports, and spends a lot of time there. Then chess, school, games. We spend time cooking each other.
You know what they say, an idle mind is the devil's playground. So that's really good.
Right.
To keep him nice and busy.
And the best thing is the church, right? The prayer time, which we spend together. That would guard him, because that would ensure that he is in the right track, irrespective of whatever. Because we can't stop. So he in fact, he knows much more than me in technical right now, because he's so. There's no way that. We cannot stop today's, if I block, if I monitor somewhere, there is another way, there's a loop.
If you block it, it's going to make him 10,000 times more interested in seeing it. Trust me, I know. I've raised 4. Mine are all grown now, and I know that you really can't block it. You can only teach, about better things that you do with your time than just, dink around on the internet, you know, and see harmful things. There's positive ways, you know, to use it. And like you said, busyness, sports are always a good idea.
Right. So because he wakes up because he wakes up morning 4:30 to play badminton, so you know he's occupied the whole day. So he's occupied the whole day.
Good. Do a little scheduling,
so I've listened,
a little creative
I stayed
scheduling.
quiet on purpose and listened.
Yes, Mr. B.
And staying quiet.
Oh, you're here.
He's here.
And staying quiet. Staying quiet and listening helps me to realize how rich you all are. And the reason why I say that is because look at how many variety of things that you can come up with, whether to give back to a child, give back to a household, give back to a community, in order to portray the art of giving back with the riches that we have, not what's in our pocketbook, but what's in our hearts, what's in our experiences, and what we have to work with. And so we really, really appreciate everyone for being on this podcast today and for kind of recounting the type of things associated with being rich and the type of richness that makes us give back wholesomely, richly. And so I really want to thank you all very much. I look forward to having Mr. Praveen back on again when we can really hear him well and I can hear everyone well. And again, thank you for being on Free Talk with Mr. B.
Yep. Thank you so much, Mr. B, for this opportunity. And I would like to thank each one of you who are present here. And thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. It was a lot of fun to talk.
Yes, you're most welcome. It's great to. Yeah.